There we go.
We're backwards for a while.
Okay, I would like to welcome anybody that is still following us, and we're to resuming to an open public meeting, and time will be 8:18. And I need a mover and a seconder, please. Okay, we're gonna go with the left side, Councillor Kirky. And Councillor Scott. So it's number R 2021-166, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that we resume to an open public meeting at 8:18 p.m. All in favor? Carried. So we go to number 9, bylaw. It's funny, we have many bylaws, and we're looking at moving them into the electronic era. And Kristen's been working on this, but so far we've dealt with bylaws that have come up because of complaints and issues. And this is a most recent one. And you have it here, and I want you to, right now, before I read it or anything, I assume you've all read it. And when we have things like that and we send it out, hopefully if you have something in question, send it to the office so we can look at it beforehand. But if not, our second opportunity is here at meeting. So if anybody has comments or questions about the new bylaw, feel free to comment now.
I do. I apologize for not sending things to the office because I just managed to get it printed today. Busy. I have a couple of things. Get my spectacles here. I'm sorry to be a pain in the ass sometimes, but subsection number 3, the owner or the occupant of any land is responsible for any damage caused. When I read that, it sounds like to their own property. I would think that is responsible for any damage caused to others' property or property of others by any animal on the. And section 3, I would contest that in court if my cow and calf was out because it says only a cow. Or if my mule got out, I would contest it because it doesn't say a mule. I think might be better to say domestic livestock.
Okay, I was taking
Yeah.
the words directly from the act. That's
Yeah.
where those words come from.
Okay, so I would contest
What would
that in
act
court
be,
though.
Chris, because
It's the most recent one that they have.
what about alpacas?
Yeah,
That's. I don't-
donkeys.
I don't name everybody though, so.
Well-
That was what they used, so yes, we could certainly change that wording, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure that it
because,
stays with the act.
I can understand, but I would definitely fight it in court if I had like a cow and a calf out in the road and they impounded the calf because the bylaw doesn't say a calf.
Yeah, and that would be a legal loophole. So, and the acts are typically minimum standards by which they're a guide, if I'm correct. And an act can be interpreted different ways. I mean, they land in court all the time. But, and I think, Tom might be correct in saying domestic livestock.
Livestock and poultry.
You can even add and
Yeah.
other domestic livestock.
And
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because if you have a larger German Shepherd that goes out and,
Well, it's covered under the dog.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
under dog.
yeah, it's a different,
we
You
go.
know, it's like I can think like the calf, steer, heifer, mule, donkey, elk, alpaca, lamb, a bison, emu,
Yeah,
lots of other, but they all come under the class of domestic livestock and poultry.
I'll check, I'm just gonna check with Omapra on that,
Mhm.
just because I've been working with their act, so that's
Yeah.
fine, yep.
Yeah, so that. would
Other than
reduce
that,
the-
and then I was a little bit worried about officer discretion about the first time. I presume there would be a warning before there was actually a charge leak. Because what happens if, like, for example, my cows got out last year because a moose ran through the fence? You know,
The
and,
wording in the bylaw, we kind of went in order of where the pound keeper and the municipal law enforcement officer would first attempt to find the owner of the livestock to correct the problem.
So you would
Yeah.
Try to
retrieve your, you
contact
would
the owner,
retrieve
but-
your
Yeah.
livestock and there'd be
Yeah. 'cause
no
actually,
charge, no anything.
the
yeah, as
moving
long
to
as we
court is at
understand
the
that.
end.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's like Chris says, where, I'm just reading, I didn't print it all down because there was a lot of printing this week. So, so I figured I would keep it here, but yeah, it's right here. It's the pound keeper or the MLEO shall make reasonable efforts to determine the identity of the owner of the animal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
but it goes on to say that the animal has been impounded. It doesn't say, right
Well-
off the bat, it says to inform the owner and the clerk that an animal has been impounded. It doesn't say to warn them that there was an offense.
Impounding is taking it off the road. That automatically
Yeah.
assumes
Yeah.
impounding. And.
But sometimes you have to have, you know, a bit of discretion that.
Jump on one.
The people, maybe it's the first time the people that it happened to them, or like I said,
Yes.
last year when I fence
Tom,
destroyed.
Which
one
one
are
are
you
you
looking
referring to?
at?
Because number 5, it says where an animal is found to be at large, and this is why we went in this order. Number 5 is where the
Mhm.
animal is found to be at large, the pound keeper and or MLEO may
Mhm.
try to contact the owner to retrieve their animals or may impound any animal found at
Yeah,
large.
no, I
They
was just
can't-
referring to what Steve had said about number 6. You know, that to determine the identity,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
as
But
long
that's-
as there,
that's what it
you know, we
is.
understand there has to be some,
That's what number
Officer
5 is
discretion.
saying.
Yeah, but
Yes.
we tried to keep it in order because the way this is actually in response to a situation we have going on for
I
a
know,
year now.
yes, I know.
So with the work of our municipal law enforcement officer, he stated that our current bylaw hasn't got any standard.
Yeah.
So we needed something because we weren't working well within that.
I
So
guess, as long as the contact idea is not, you know, is good, then I can go with that.
mhm.
that's what we were trying to enforce.
Because every effort is going to be made to contact the owner to retrieve their animal before it gets impounded. If they cannot contact the owner, or if it's second or third or fourth.
If it's an
offense.
ongoing issue that cannot be.
Yes.
corrected, yes.
Yeah, so if the owner is standing in front of them and not hearing what they're saying, they can impound the animal.
And the other thing I was wondering about was the fees.
They're more of
Yeah,
a
I guess-
deterrent than.
I just wondered, I'm not fighting them, just wonder how you come up with $75 and stuff, you know, like how those prices were set.
Let me see. We just kind of estimated, now, the ones that they have in here, in our current bylaw, it's $5 a horse, $5 for cattle, $2.50 for hogs, and $2.50 for other animals,
No.
which
That's
doesn't
pretty
even
old.
come close. And then we were looking at where we would have to advertise, of course, for a pound keeper once our bylaws in place. Trying to find someone who, first of all, would be willing to take animals into their own establishment with the biohazards and with the
That's right.
transportation costs and with the feed. And if they don't normally have those animals, they have to buy the feed.
Yeah, so they'd have to be kept separate.
That's right.
Yeah,
Correct.
and
So with those costs and with the cost of farming, as you know, at this day and age, and more of a deterrent really than anything, because we'd rather owners of livestock.
you
retrieve
don't
their-
want to break the owner of the livestock, but you want the owner to start paying attention.
That would be a last resort.
Yeah.
We got there.
And like I say, I wasn't fighting, I just wondered how you come up
And
with
we
Yeah.
it.
we kind of estimated out some costs and things like that, but there were no real resources, so we just kind of went with something we thought might be fair, but still a deterrent, because it would be costly.
Mhm.
Change that and bring it back. Okay. So domestic, what were we calling it?
Domestic
Other
livestock.
domestic livestock, I'll
Right.
make that change and then we'll defer this matter and bring it back to the next meeting.
Right.
And domestic poultry if you want or something there, rather than geese or other poultry,
Yeah, because you got a turkey across your windshield, that'll learn you.
you know, well, you know, nowadays with emu and ostrich and,
Yeah.
you know,
Chris, what about animals running at large? We talk about other than dogs. Do we need to include cats there too? Or does dogs pretty much cover it? It only says dogs.
Where-
That's on the prohibiting animals other than dogs from running at large in the municipality.
that's
The
the,
bylaw 631.
that's the old one.
That's the old one.
That's
the old
I
one.
can change
So we
it
got-
now.
Okay,
That's what this new bylaw is.
that's fine. Okay,
We have a dog bylaw in place, right?
Yes,
If
Yes,
there's
we
yeah,
video.
and we don't regulate cats.
okay,
I would strongly.
okay.
Kitties right there.
Yeah, that's on the new bylaw.
Oh,
We're
it's the
talking
new-
about the one that's currently in place.
Oh, no.
And.
There's a dog running at large legislation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and actually our dog bylaw is another one that we're gonna be looking at next, because again, it's also very old and on the pipeline, so we need to-
How old was our livestock bylaw?
1982.
82, it says.
I didn't pay attention to
And it
that.
actually refers to the municipal act that is no longer.
Yeah.
in place. So we updated all of the legislative references.
Okay, so we will move on to, just put that over in our agenda. We'll move on to correspondence. And we looked through the correspondence. The first one, we did receive a card from Charles, thanking us very much. Thank you for the gift. It's a great good time gift for the computer. And it's from Charles, and it says your thoughtfulness meant more than words can say. Lovely card, and it was sent to council. That's our first correspondence. John calls up 2 weeks ago, maybe? Yes, 2 weeks ago. The next, just administrative environment, and those are all notices of updates to the environmental assessment requirements for transmission lines,
Mhm.
pardon me, right?
Yeah, they're inviting feedback directly by September 3rd, so everybody has them.
Number 3, the request for support from the town of Kearney regarding request of consideration of provincial government to address financial shortfall of OHIP to optometry clinics. We've looked into this. There is optometry services supplied for people with existing medical conditions. And if we look at that, then you can always say, well, what about dentistry? There's nothing for that. So all of a sudden, we're taking on the provincial government for optical, dental, hearing, and whatever. I would suggest we stay out of this
Yeah.
until, they come up with something more clear than that. And
But this was brought on by the optometrist threatening to go away from OHIP.
right,
That maybe if you read it, it says,
Yeah.
so I'm not care if we support or not, but that's where it was came, because I heard a interview on CBC where they were talking optometrists are getting very little and they haven't increased for years, so they're going to refuse to accept OHIP patients, pay cash. So I think that's where they're coming from.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are indeed. Number 4, the minutes of the museum board, and that was held on June 22nd. Next, number 5, the town of Perry Sound EMS advisory committee minutes, the meeting held June 16th. And if you look at it, it's 3.2. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Letter from McKellar Township. And, operational review of EMS for efficiencies and communication enhancement. We asked about that a year ago. And now McKellar is asking about it. So it's getting out there. It might be only one township at a time, unfortunately. But basically, we're saying, like last year when they tagged us for $13,000 and said we need money,
Okay.
we asked why, and they said, we don't have to tell you, we need the money.
Mhm.
End of story. So now McKellar is asking, as we have done already, we want a review and looking for efficiency. So it is gathering some steam after we suggested that last fall. So hopefully it will, it will start something. Evidently, we didn't start it, but McKellar has kind of joined our bandwagon, and we'll see.
It would be easier for municipalities if going forward in the budgets for 2022, when we asked East Home to identify their COVID costs, we had asked that for EMS as well, and we didn't get any documents on their budget at all. So we were asking that simply because then we can use the COVID funding that was provided to the municipality from the province to offset, so it doesn't
Offset
affect our taxpayers as hard.
Well, on the same token, our EMS costs, we should know what they are because we're paying into it.
Yes.
We should.
And if
know,
you're
not
paying
budget.
for it, when you walk into Foot's General Store and you purchase something, you want to know what you're purchasing.
Yes. So that was the information we had requested,
Yeah.
and there
Fair
had been
enough.
some miscommunication because our representative had been Councilor Morris Turgeon from Calendar, who had passed away, and there had been a lapse in time before another councilor had been appointed as our representative. So some of the paperwork and documentation had gone in that gap.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they would not provide it to us after. So each municipality usually gets a full set of paperwork from East Home and DSAB and the health unit for our budget purposes each year. And with the EMS, we don't receive that. So that's why we were concerned. And we had requested it, so. And I've spoken to our representative now, Councillor Smith from Calendar, and she understands our concerns as well and does keep mentioning.
Like some places might be able to afford a $16,000 bill, but when
Yeah.
our budget's not that great.
No.
Yeah.
it
Okay.
blindsides us.
A lot of these are saying we're going to have a hefty increase in 2022 to cover the COVID costs. So I think it's important that we start lobbying them to isolate those costs and label them as COVID costs so that we can utilize the funds that we have.
Exactly.
for-
When they send you a bill that says you have to pay $13,000 and you say, what for? And they say, we don't have to tell you what for. And what happens, I'm just throwing this out there, what happens if you say, well, we're not in the business of paying bills, we don't know what they're for?
This is the bad news.
This-
Am I gonna
That
get
approach
a,
was taken by other municipalities. However, we all have signed a collective agreement with EMS to pay the levies and pay the fees. So we didn't really have anything to go back on at that time. But I think with that happening, that is when we started asking for more information.
We'd be in breach of
Oh.
contract.
Yeah,
so we signed a
We signed-
contract
It was
shortly
part of
after
the
falling
provincial
off the turnip truck.
Download. It was
Yeah.
part of the provincial download of services that we have. There's certain levies we have no say in what we pay. And that is one of them.
So they don't even have to honor their contract with their employees, because I know they don't have a contract.
right.
They've been out of contract for years.
Yes.
And when we get a bill from them, it'll have a fee and a dollar value. That's it. Doesn't break down personnel, cars, communications, that's it. you know,
Actually, it was big that we got minutes.
Well, now I have an axe to grind. I didn't want to have one.
And I'm sure we don't get an auditor's report from him.
no, nothing.
So we don't know how they're blowing the money.
Well, the way that it was worded in their minutes, I believe it says that direction was given to Dave Thompson to provide a response to McKellar, including a reminder that the committee is an advisory committee only and that collective municipalities need to work together to provide agreeable representation.
Advisory committee.
I think.
So no, so it's not really a board overseeing, it's just an advisory.
Well, there is no oversight. There's none.
The town of Perry Sound, as I understand it, is the management oversight for,
I thought the hospital was.
they work with them.
So anyway, we will continue to fight that fight and try to get information. And it's unfortunate because our representative, I think, is trying very hard,
Very hard, yes.
working hard. And again, it's like this water board we were on. As soon as we asked questions, they said, we're not gonna have any more meetings for a year.
Yeah.
So no more questions.
No more questions.
No, and they can do that, you know, so a bit of an axe and so you can,
We can talk about that at the office if you'd like to call, and I'll explain the background. The new representative has had quite a learning curve with it because there's a lot to learn.
Well, I feel I'm getting quite a learning curve here right now myself.
But it was some of the problem, we did have a vacancy representation.
That's right. And so once that was filled, and I've spoken to Councillor Smith for.
We might have had more information about why they wanted that money.
Yes, exactly.
But you're exactly right, where we need to know the COVID costs
Yeah.
so that we can put it to the
Exactly.
appropriate
Have our
funding we
finances
receive.
Set up
Yeah.
to cover that as a stability fund for our tax base.
Otherwise,
Because
it'll
I'm
come out of our regular budget and rather than the COVID fund.
We don't want to see a large increase in our taxes.
you know, Especially when we're giving money to cover.
So we don't know what the bill's going to be. No idea.
For many of them.
And we don't know what it's going to be for.
you know,
Not as
And
quick as
we can't fight it.
You know, like an invoice with an itemized list of purchases.
Okay,
Well, no, but I think, and it's not just in this chamber that these things, those people out there need to be hearing these conversations that these organizations or government organizations are firing off bills to our municipalities and not telling us what they're for. There should be an outcry out there. I'm just saying.
Well, we did complain and started last year with the resolution we put through complaining about it.
Yeah.
And we're hoping we were following up on one other, but we were hoping other municipalities and like AMO and Phenomenon, those would get on the bandwagon, but with COVID, maybe it's different. People just, we don't have the meetings where you can, what do they call it, go around, talk to people and generate interest at Phenom or
Yeah.
AMO or Perry Sound District.
anyway, so it stimulates some discussion. Finally, 6, because it's a resolution, they sent it to us. Unfortunately, it was Canada Day in Mississauga, and how they were gonna handle it, we're a little late on it. So, you could read it, but that's,
I read it.
that's about all you need to worry about. The resolution.
Requested it be circulated to council.
Yep, they requested it, we circulated, and if we had been in Mississauga, we would have known how the Canada Day thing would have gone, but I wasn't there. And I'm not aware of anybody here being there, but
No,
if you did, welcome your comments. Otherwise, in that case, we can accept the correspondence as presented, be a mover and seconder. Okay, thank you, Councilor Marchand. So it's number R 2021-167, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Moore, that we accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor? Carried.
Now Steve will learn that if you do the correspondence, you don't have to do the accounts.
Right. Goes to the next slide for the accounts.
Good catch.
And so the next one is the statement of accounts dated June 24th, July 5th and 6th. Now, one thing we're running into with
Just do the extras for tonight, because I had to do some research on it.
okay, so it is difficult now because when we go to these longer meetings, we had accounts coming in Monday and Tuesday. So what we'll have to do in the future is there'll be an addendum with these new ones, like the road gravel that they just brought the bill in and things like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the vast majority, Chris has been good enough to get out, but those ones that they come in, because, and again, if we don't pass them, we're not here for a month.
That's right.
Now they're, you know.
We don't want to do that, because we have a good payment history with all of our vendors. So
Mhm.
what I'll do in the future is I'll include as many as I can on the resolution that I send out. But then there may be an extra sheet with an amended resolution on your tables when you come in for the meeting,
Oh, yeah.
with all the information on it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same as what you would receive. It would
Okay.
just be short notice, but.
right.
That's
Okay.
fair, Paul.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I guess the gentleman on my left are volunteering. Thank you. Councillor Kirky.
Is this for the accounts?
Yes.
I just noticed a couple of things, Chris, and I only printed off before I left, and it was the rig hydro. It's not a lot, but it's still $133.50. My whole house was less than that.
I looked at it,
Yes,
brought it,
yes,
and
Oh, and Will wants to comment.
yes.
Is that the last month?
Ah, I don't know,
Oh,
Chris.
that was the tail end of the catch.
Well, it could be that, but the breaker's been shut off since that next day.
Okay,
So
so
the main
then,
breaker to the
what's the,
building shut off.
Chris has the
I'm getting
bill.
there.
She's
So they
getting there.
still
All right.
conclude
July
delivery.
2nd, so this runs from May 27th to June 25th, and it was for $133.50.
Yeah.
Electricity cost $57.74. Delivery $81.45.
Okay, so that's part of the month after
So
the
we'll
catch.
check.
Part of
next-
it. Okay, we'll see
next
what the
one
next one is.
Should
Okay.
be
Yeah.
only delivery,
Yeah, it should be less, yeah.
because I shut the main breaker up.
Perfect.
And we still have to pay the delivery. probably.
Correct.
Yes.
The
And-
line's still
yeah.
hooked up.
And one other thing, I noticed we paid for a flag for the museum. Anthony's not sending us some.
I don't know if
Like
his office is open to the public at that time.
Oh, okay.
And Rick was quite upset because he handed out a number of Canadian flags. And because of ongoing political issues, problems, flags, they hung them upside down.
Oh, no.
So
They hung them upside down.
on Canada Day.
Yeah.
That's treason.
Well,
Yeah, you used to
he
get
was
hung for
not
something
very
like
happy
that.
with it. So anyway, we'll move on to the accounts that these gentlemen were so gracious to volunteer. It's number R 2021-168, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the statement of accounts dated June 24th and July 5th and 6th, 2021, totaling $275,479.31 be approved. All in favor? With enthusiasm.
You wait till 13.
Number gets correspondence.
I roll numbers. This one should be 169.
Good. So this is our confirming bylaw. And we're getting there. Heard. Okay, so
Stop it.
a mover to seconder for the confirming bylaw, please. Thank you. Move by Councilor Marchant and Councilor Moore. So it's number R 2021-169, moved by Councilor Marchant, seconded by Councilor Moore. We pass bylaw number 2021-37, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on July 13th, 2021, read the first, second, and third time and passed this 13th day of July, 2021. All in favor? Carried.
Don't think of raising your hand on the next one.
And the last one is number 2021-70. I need a mover and a seconder, or my opinion. Okay, I'll pick you two with enthusiasm, I noticed.
Strong.
It's number R 2021-170, moved by Councillor Curtin, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the meeting be adjourned at 9:48 p.m. 8:48.
48.
And
It just,
You are tired.
Yeah.
at 8:48 p.m., next regular meeting to be held August 17th, 2021. All in favor? Carried. I'll remind everyone again, the next meeting. And I guess I'll tell Chris and Will about our special meeting on August 3rd. Are you available? August 3rd at 6:30.
August 3rd, I think I got this down.
August 3rd at 6:30.
August 3rd.
And do your survey.